Today, Pellissippi State Community College unveiled its biggest expansion since the college opened 44 years ago. The college plans to build a new science building at its Hardin Valley campus with new modern labs. It will also open a new workforce development center in Blount County. College leaders say the expansion comes as the college sees more students because of Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Reconnect.
But it's put a demand on the facilities that require us to expand those, to modernize those, to provide the capacity to really meet that student demand.
The college is also providing a student opportunity fund to assist students with needs not covered through Tennessee Promise or Reconnect.